Mark Buehrle was baseball's speedrunner. Speedrunner. What does that word mean? It's not a reference to Buehrle's speed or athleticism, although he certainly demonstrated it on this play. Wow. That's one of the most athletic things I've ever seen. No, speedrunning, in the video game community, is a word used to describe the act of completing a video game as quickly as possible. For example, the speedrun world record for the original Super Mario Bros. Is 4 minutes 55 seconds and 646 milliseconds. And my personal record is 0 seconds because I'm terrible at platformers, and according to gamers, I'm also a noob with no friends. In a world where esports and traditional sports are converging, I want to talk about someone who brought the speedrunning mentality to the game of baseball. Every time Mark Buehrle got on the mound, it was as if his goal was to complete the game in record time. When he called it quits in 2015, the average length of a 9-inning baseball game had ballooned to 3 hours. In response to that, pace of play has become a frequently discussed topic throughout MLB, and as the league tries to speed up the game for spectators, it is becoming more and more clear that Mark Buehrle's time on the mound, or lack thereof, made him really special. In 2019, it took 3 hours and 5 minutes on average to complete 9 innings of baseball. 20 years prior, it was 2 hours and 53 minutes, and 20 years before that, it was right around 2.5 hours. Now, I enjoy baseball, but look at it this way. Would you rather watch a baseball game or a baseball game plus an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry commits a faux pas that comes back to bite him in the end? That's every episode, by the way. Let's go back even further. In 1946, the average baseball game lasted 1 hour and 56 minutes. Sub 2, baby. Maybe baseball was played at a lightning pace that year because people were amped up from the war ending. Bob Feller would even speed things up by throwing 2 pitches at once. Kinda makes sense how he struck out 348 batters that year. We all know that Major League Baseball is trying to speed up the game in 2020 and beyond. A pitch clock, at least with the bases empty, seems inevitable. In fact, the AA and AAA levels of the minors have already been using one since 2015. Some people seem to dislike the idea of a pitch clock, but many of them have attended a pitch clock baseball game and never noticed it. That's actually what happened to me, and now I support the idea of one at the major league level. Perhaps the biggest problem with the current pace of play is that it drags on the greatest stage of all. A 3-hour regular season baseball game might not seem too bad, but the average World Series game in 2019 lasted 3 hours and 45 minutes. Beyond the pitch clock, MLB has also started limiting mound visits, but these mound visits are necessary when, say, your opponent has a penchant for stealing signs. The Nationals knew about the Astros' tricks and swapped signs often throughout the series, but that would have been difficult to do with a pitch clock and fewer mound visits. In order to address pace of play, the league must also address, cheating. I've had enough of these 4-hour playoff games. Let's look at the opposite of that. How about a Mark Buehrle game instead? It's June 3rd, 2015. We're nearing the end of Mark Buehrle's fast-paced career. His Blue Jays are visiting the Washington Nationals, and he's a man on a mission. Sub 2, baby, that's the goal. We're trying to play frantic 1946 baseball and speedrun the game in less than 2 hours. But much like a video gamer, a speedrunner like Buehrle is highly susceptible to 3 dreaded letters, RNG. No, this isn't a fancy new baseball stat. RNG stands for Random Number Generator, but has become a catch-all term for the randomness one can experience while speedrunning a game. In Super Mario, it could mean an enemy behaving in a way that isn't conducive to a fast time. In Buehrle's case, it's shenanigans in the top of the first inning. Nats starter Taylor Jordan throws 32 pitches and allows 4 runs in the first. It takes him about 17 minutes to get 3 outs before Buehrle can even get started. This is the point where a speedrunner would reset their video game, but Buehrle has to see this speedrun through. He cruises through the bottom of the first in just 4 minutes and 15 seconds. In the second, Buehrle both hits a single and breaks up a double play. Good for the Blue Jays, bad for the speedrun. In the third, he quickly retires Danny Espinosa and Denard Span on 1 and 2 pitches respectively. Now you're starting to see one of Buehrle's methods. Strikeouts take 3 pitches, but he can get you out faster than that by pitching to weak contact. In this game, he'll face 32 batters. 15 of those plate appearances will end in 1 or 2 pitches. In the fourth, we can see him speeding up his opponent Ian Desmond by simply staying on the mound. Desmond's like, I guess I'll take some swings. Oh, he's ready to go. More swings. Swingy, swingy. Oh, I better just play baseball. In the top of the seventh, the Nats bring in a new pitcher, which adds another 45 seconds or so, as he needs to warm up. Meanwhile, Buehrle's still cruising. Jose Bautista homers in the 9th, but has the decency to speed things up on the base paths. He runs like Ronetto Doors after him. Buehrle's final line, a 93-pitch complete game shutout. Where I'm from, we call that a Maddox. He also only strikes out 2 batters because, in this case, believe it or not, strikeouts are for suckers. Buehrle has done seemingly everything right. Is it enough for sub 2? Nope. This game ends after 2 hours and 13 minutes. I broke this game down into 4 categories. Either Buehrle's pitching, the Nats are pitching, there's an ad break, or the broadcast is going, but there's no action yet. This is Buehrle's RNG problem. He only controls about a quarter of the pie chart. Well, actually, technically this is a donut chart. Maybe we should look at the most famous game of Buehrle's career instead. July 23rd, 2009. While Buehrle was a very good Toronto Blue Jay, the White Sox are always the team he'll be associated with most. They're at home, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. His opponent, Scott Kazmir, was a pretty good pitcher back in his heyday, but he loads the bases and suffers a grand slam at the hands of Josh Fields. Not that one, that one. It results in a dreadful 16-minute inning. In the top of the 4th, Buehrle gets back to work so fast that the broadcast isn't even ready for his first pitch. He gets 3 outs in just 2.5 minutes. Impressive stuff. He's working at a pace that would give other pitchers a panic attack. Kazmir allows a run in the 5th, but gets out of it in around 6 minutes. Not too bad. The camera catches a glimpse of Buehrle in the 6th. At this point, he hasn't allowed a single base runner. There are murmurs of a perfect game. But I like to think Buehrle is just thinking about getting that sweet, sweet sub 2. In the top of the 8th, Buehrle finds himself in a couple battles. It takes him 7 pitches to retire Ben Zobrist, who works him into a full count. The next batter, Pat Burrell, also works Buehrle for 7 pitches before hitting an unlucky line drive right to the third baseman. Buehrle is 3 outs away from perfection. Dwayne Wise comes in as a defensive substitute in the 9th inning. Surely that won't make a difference, right? Or maybe he immediately makes one of the greatest catches in baseball history. Buehrle then battles back to get his 26th out. And then Jason Bartlett grounds out to end the game. Mark Buehrle has just thrown the 18th perfect game in MLB history, yada yada, who cares? The final time, drumroll, 2 hours and 3 minutes. Wow, not even a perfect game can get you sub 2. The Rays pitching staff failed him in this one, and it would have been even worse if the home team hadn't won, as Tampa would have been responsible for 3 more outs otherwise. This should illustrate exactly how difficult it is to play 9 innings in 2 hours. On September 16, 1988, Tom Browning etched his name into baseball history by throwing a perfect game in 1 hour and 51 minutes. Since then, pitchers have thrown 11 more perfect games, ranging from Dennis Martinez in 1991 to, most recently, King Felix in 2012. None of them have gotten below 2 hours. We're gonna have to pray to R and Jesus to get a good speedrun. It's July 6th, 2015. We're back in Buehrle's Toronto years, but he's having a Chicago homecoming, as the Blue Jays will be taking on the White Sox. And Buehrle, the White Sox former ace lefty, will be taking on their new ace lefty, Chris Sale. Buehrle always worked faster than everyone else, but Sale is known for his pace as well, and he came to play. He pitches his 2nd inning in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. That's the shortest inning I recorded for this whole video. He also allows a home run in the 3rd, but still gets out of that one in just 4 minutes. But bad RNG was bound to happen. About 30 seconds are added just so Chicago can choose not to review a close call at first base. In the top of the 4th, Josh Donaldson tries to get out of the way of this pitch, and oh no, Gibby's gonna challenge! Yup, hit by pitch. That's 2 more minutes of time. In the bottom of the 4th, this tag for a potential inning-ending double play is called safe, and here comes Gibby again! At least this review gets us out of the inning. Just an incredible replay review performance from John Gibbons. The ad break in the middle of the 7th runs about 20 seconds longer than in other innings. Hey, how do I skip take me out to the ball game? It's impeding my progress. The clock is ticking. Buehrle takes the mound in the 8th. Jose Reyes commits an error to allow a runner on base. That's when Buehrle executes his masterstroke. See, Buehrle is winning as the visiting team, meaning that he'll have to pitch the bottom of the 9th to win the ball game. But if he can somehow get the White Sox out in front, they'll be in position to shorten the game by removing a half inning. No extra commercial break, and 3 less outs to worry about. Much like a video game speedrunner would, Buehrle abuses his game's mechanics to create a skip. The White Sox rally for 3 runs, all unearned, and lead 4-2. Then it's up to Chris Sale to close this one out, but he finds himself in serious danger. Time is running out. The Blue Jays have put the tying run on base, and Sale has thrown 107 pitches. If the Blue Jays knock things up, the game will continue to the bottom of the 9th with no chance at sub-2. Another potential disaster? A pitching change. Those take forever. He needs to find a way to get 2 outs ASAP. So he does. And time. 1 hour and 53 minutes. Sub-2, baby! Buehrle and Sale have gone sub-2 in a world where the average ball game is 3 hours. This was the last sub-2 game of Buehrle's career, bringing him up to 10. No other pitcher in the 21st century has more than 5. As for his personal best, on April 16, 2005, Buehrle and Ryan Franklin of the Mariners combined their efforts to get through a game in just 1 hour and 39 minutes. That's not just the shortest 9-inning game of Buehrle's career, it's the shortest Major League Baseball game in the last 35 years. At 99 minutes, we're talking about a runtime shorter than The Wizard of Oz. Just look at the pace on these pitches to Raul Ibanez. You also have to give props to Ryan Franklin, as it definitely takes 2 to tango. So, what can we learn from these speedruns? If Buehrle worked quickly, who in today's MLB is rather slovenly on the mound? If there's any pitcher with that reputation, it's Dodgers reliever Pedro Baez. This is as unfair a comparison as it gets, but we can still learn from it. Left side of the screen is Baez in the NLCS. Right side is from Buehrle's perfect game. In the time Baez takes between pitches, Buehrle throws 7 to retire Gabe Kapler, then the next hitter waltzes up to the plate, and Buehrle throws strike 1 to him as well. Buehrle has just thrown 8 pitches before Pedro Baez throws a single one. As first pointed out by current Tampa Bay Rays baseball person Jeff Sullivan, this 111 seconds without throwing a pitch is downright aggravating. It's characterized by really lazy pickoff moves, but the worst moment has to be this interaction between Pedro Baez and the hitter, David Ross. Ross is in the batter's box ready to go. Baez doesn't come set. Ross still ready to go. Baez, he's just standing there. Eventually, Ross has to call time to reset his concentration. It's basically the polar opposite of the Ian Desmond-Mark Buehrle interaction we saw previously. And here's the crazy thing. Although Pedro Baez was the slowest pitcher of 2017, according to the pace metric, he was actually just the 10th slowest in 2019 behind Emilio Pagan, who took over 31 seconds on average between pitches. An example of a starting pitcher who has become more, methodical, so slow, would be David Price. Price has slowed his pace down considerably over the course of his career. In 2019, Baez and Price took around 30 seconds between pitches, whereas Buehrle, for his career, worked more than a second per pitch faster than any other pitcher ever since pace has been measured. I think that's a wonderful legacy. And at a time when many are focused on speeding up the game, it's only fitting that we remember Mark Buehrle, not just as a very good pitcher who won a World Series and tossed a perfect game, but also as baseball's greatest speedrunner. By the way, MLB, if you want pitchers to be a little more comfortable speeding things up on the mound, please consider making a baseball that obeys the laws of gravity.